that coming
Yeah,
through?
we can see that.
Brilliant.
Okay, well, I will let you take over, Kevin. But thank you
Lovely.
very much.
Thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. Really great to be here. Yeah, a Monday morning, first thing, to talk about how green design can change the world. Quite a big statement. So yeah, what has design got to do with climate change, social equity, human health and well-being, things like that? You know, the big problems that are facing society and the planet. Um, And to solve these problems is going to take diverse minds and skills and creative, opportunity-focused, imagination-rich solution finding, what's often also known as design, is and will always be an important role for shaping the future of society and how we live. You are probably, you might, and probably be frustrated that governments aren't doing enough to tackle these issues. And I am. But luckily, no matter what governments are doing, there's lots of people out there in many different careers that are making a difference, that feel passionate about these issues, and want to make change happen no matter what governments are prioritizing. So there's lots of stuff happening. That cat is out the bag. And you know, there's loads of opportunities to make real, tangible, meaningful differences in the world, no matter what your skill sets and what your career choices. And finding solutions to these issues is sadly, it's a good thing and a bad thing, a growth area. These problems aren't going away. And that means that there are more and more projects and more jobs focusing on these issues every day. And it can be really deeply rewarding work. So yeah, these careers are growing fast. Things like climate adaptation, net zero design, water resilience, nature recovery, circular economy, fair and healthy cities, nature-based solutions. These are all kind of buzzwords that are flying around, particularly the sort of design world at the moment, and they're all expanding fields with long-term prospects. And design fits into all of these, and it's a key component of all of these. Design isn't just about advertising and product design. These are also important areas that we need to influence to be sustainable into the future. But where we live, who we live near, what we live in, what's around us, what things we can do together, how we move around our towns and cities, what we experience on the way and when we get there, all these things are influenced by design. How fair, healthy, wildlife rich, sustainable, and resilient all that is often influenced by designers. So just look at a few slides of some of the issues that we're dealing with in our work. So climate change is impacting the amount it rains, the intensity of rainfall. So we're getting floods more frequently. We've had some this weekend again. The other end of the spectrum, when we don't have enough rain, we get severe drought and even fires in some cities because of the sort of the dryness. This has impacts on health and well-being. Air quality is a big issue in our urban areas, and thousands of people die each year from urban heat and air quality, the impacts of air quality. We have huge issues around pollution of our natural landscapes and our waterways, our streams and rivers and the sea. So lots of issues like this sort of litter and sewage and microplastics and all this sort of pollution that washes off our streets, and we end up with things like this. This happens. Sorry, I hope no one's still eating their breakfast at 9 o'clock on a Monday. But this is a picture of thousands of dead fish that were captured in a river in London, and this is the result of just normal daily life in a city. This isn't a chemical spill or something like this. This is just rain washing pollution off our urban environment, and killing thousands of fish. So these are some of the issues that we're trying to solve. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity to make a change. There are lots of people wanting to make those changes out there. So there's a place for just about everyone to get involved in this kind of work. So how fair, healthy, wildlife rich, sustainable, and resilient all of this is often influenced by designers. is it good enough? Is what we've got out there, is it good enough? You tell me, look around your school and look around you on your way home and look at the fabric of the villages and towns and cities where you live and ask, can this be better for people, wildlife, and the planet? If you say yes, it can, you're probably right. There's a lot of design work to do out there still. And if you start thinking of ideas of how it could be better, there's probably a design job that does those things. Pretty much anything you can imagine out there that can change, there's probably someone whose job that is to do that already. So if that interests you, then maybe that's an area to look at. So my approach in all of this, I'm a landscape architect, so this is one design profession, just one design profession that can affect and design, in a way, design the future. You've probably never heard of landscape architects before, but landscape architects are place shapers. We design outdoor places where people, communities, and nature can thrive. So that can be things like streets, public places, parks, public squares, basically anything sort of outside, between buildings, just what we call the public realm. We design those places. Probably a lot of you will walk through a lot of these spaces and not realize they're designed by somebody. Which in a way is the art of good design, is that it doesn't make you think that it was a lot of hard work to kind of come up with it. But we're there sort of designing these spaces and trying to make them better for people and wildlife. School, I struggled with some subjects. I was either switched on or I was off. If something didn't interest me, I really struggled to learn it properly. For me, it was like trying to grab at a cloud. But if I was interested in something or I was passionate about it, I was absolutely hyper-focused and excited. And one of the most important things I got right in my career was following these interest areas, following the things I was passionate and interested in. I liked art, but I was never as good as I wanted to be. You can see one of my sketches here. But I really like design and technology as well. I've always drawn, but it was mostly kind of things I invented in my mind, fantasy cars or planes, imaginary worlds, problem solving and other ideas that interested me. And I loved making things. I wasn't great at following rules. I used to make model planes, but kind of stuck other bits of other planes onto them to make them, probably in my mind, better. They probably wouldn't have flown in reality. Yeah, I love making things from scratch and going from an idea, testing those ideas, often epically failing in what I was trying to do, trying again, tweaking it, and then creating something unique at the end of it. Not always successful, but that didn't really seem to matter. I just loved going from an idea to a real object. I got 10 GCSEs. My favorite 3 were design and technology, art, and biology. And then I realized that I wanted to be a landscape architect. I was kind of lucky enough to find out about it, but unfortunately, I'd already chosen my GCSEs at that point. But I was lucky enough to find out about it before I chose my A-levels. For my A-levels, I did art design, biology, and then I added geography, which I hadn't done at GCSE because it was one of the classic 3 A-levels to get onto landscape architecture courses at university. So because I was so committed, I managed to convince them to do an A-level in geography, even though I hadn't done my GCSE. So I got the kind of the perfect 3 A-levels to move on to university. Then I went to Leeds and studied landscape architecture there. So there was a specific course for doing this job. And it absolutely blew my mind wide open. And from that point on, I realized that I wanted to spend my life using my kind of creative problem-solving powers to make the world a better place for people and wildlife. It's a very simple kind of principle, but I've held that all the way through my career, is that commitment to making the world a better place for people and wildlife. But the world out there, not everyone is doing that, and not everyone feels the same. So I really struggled to find my place in the profession for quite a while. And I was frustrated by this lack of commitment to sustainability, society, and wildlife out there in the wider profession. And in this time, I learned that design professions are really broad. Within any design professions, there's lots of different types of work within that profession. And it took me a long time, much longer than it should have done. It took me about 10 years to realize that I needed to find a place that does the kind of work and believes in similar things to me. Otherwise, I struggled to apply myself and I just wasn't fulfilled at my work. So top tip here, if you find yourself in a job that isn't fulfilling you, try to work out what it is that drives you and what you're passionate about and what kind of projects you want to be working on. Meet and talk to other people in the same profession or similar professions and find out what work their studios are doing so you can understand the different types of studios and projects that are happening out there. And once you get a feel for the kind of studio and projects that you want to be working with, look around for jobs with those kind of practices. Don't be afraid to go after that. Seek out that place that's right for you. And also don't be afraid to change your ideas over time as you get more experience. But keep trying. I almost gave up. I was literally this close to giving up on that career and moving into another design career. I was exploring web design and graphic design. And then I found another landscape architect who was working on climate resilient, wildlife friendly landscape design. And through that, I found my place in the profession where my skills and my passion fit perfectly, where I am switched on and passionate all the time in my work, where I really feel like I'm making a meaningful difference in the world. And now I run that practice. It's a dynamic, maverick, award-winning studio of 11 landscape architects. We're based in Bristol, but we do work across the country and occasionally in Europe. I'm an expert at the Design Council, and I'm a fellow of our professional institute, the Landscape Institute. And our practice, we are leaders in climate resilient, community and wildlife focused landscapes. And I'm going to show you some examples of that in a moment. And we're disruptors. We like pushing the boundaries of our profession and being provocative. It's a very exciting place to be, making our profession respond to the climate, biodiversity, social equity, and urban health crises in which we find ourselves. So we design landscapes, but we make the urban fabric work a lot harder than conventional urban fabric to basically help tackle these sort of biodiversity, climate, and social equity crises. So one of the kind of the magic sauce, if you like, in our work is to use rain in the landscape, to incorporate management of rain within our landscapes. And we do that to create better streets for people. So here you can see what we call bioretention rain gardens. These are removing pollution from urban runoff to protect the streams and rivers, creating healthier, more vibrant, beautiful places and safer places for people to live. Protecting pedestrians from the pollution that comes from those vehicles by putting all this vegetation between the vehicles and the pedestrians. Again, creating sort of rain gardens in urban spaces, but improving and regenerating these spaces for the local community. We work on campuses. So this is Kingston University campus. We created this landscape where people and nature, the students and nature can coexist. So we created habitat features right there next to where sort of students can meet and socialize. They can sit and spend time on their own and chill out or study in these spaces. And this whole landscape can act like a sponge. It can soak up rain when it rains, obviously, and as well as kind of creating habitat for nature. It can store that water, helping to prevent that flooding and also helping to keep that landscape alive through the drought seasons. So water's really, really critical in this sort of this more sustainable future. Same landscape, creating sort of play and social opportunities. This housing project, we started at the roof of the building, so we create habitat on top of roofs. So we kind of add landscape onto buildings, and this cleans any pollution that settles out of the atmosphere onto that roof, creates habitat, manages water, helps it be climate resilient. Then down, the water sort of flows down off those roofs down into this landscape. Here you can see the sort of grassy paved areas That's allowing water to go into the ground rather than into pipes and gullies. It's cleaning any pollution that comes off those vehicles, the hydrocarbons, oils and fuels and heavy metals. It's cleaned as the water passes through that green grassy paving. This landscape, this planting on the right hand side is what we call a rain garden. So that can fill up with rainwater, helping to water those plants, lose lots of that water to the air and into the ground, removing any pollution again as it does that. And then at the bottom of the system, after all that water has traveled all the way through that landscape and through those rain gardens and permeable surfaces and the blue-green roofs, it ends up at this pond at the bottom, which most of it has been given over to wildlife to create habitat for wildlife. But the bit at this end has been designed as a natural swimming pond for local residents. This is a before shot. This isn't something we designed. So this is what this street looked like, and it's a school street. There's a school on the left-hand side and playgrounds on the right-hand side. It was a polluted, busy route to school, and we turned it into this, basically a community urban park, which is like a sponge park. It manages rain. So again, all these hard surfaces, water can soak through them, and the pollution can be cleaned out of that water. It can then fill up these green, what we call green infrastructure features, these rain gardens in the middle here. We've got a sculpture taking rain off the roof down a special sort of helix of wires that creates this amazing visual effect. So the whole landscape manages water, and the roofs around also drain into this space. And we put lots of monitoring equipment in there to see what it actually does when it rains. And in the average year, half the rain that lands on that whole site never leaves the landscape. It never drains into the sewers. So the pollution and the flooding that rainwater can cause just doesn't happen from this landscape. There's another view of it. We created this wiggly wall through there for children to play on and walk along on their way to school. And I don't know if you can hear the sound, but this is basically, we designed this space so that the kids could play in it and on it. And there's basically loads of kids all marauding through those grasses. And this is their experience on the way to school or on the way back from school. And one of the parents told me it started bringing the community together. Her child likes walking to school now, which is amazing. She used to drive, but now they walk to school. And parents get there 10 to 15 minutes early, and they've started making friends with each other because they have a nice space now to hang out in. So that's just a snapshot of some of the things that we do, or I do in my career. And just one aspect of design, we're landscape architects. There's lots of other design professions out there that can change the future. A great place to start for more information about this is the Design Council, so designcouncil.org.uk. Check that out. The Design Council is basically champions for the power of design and helping people and planet prosper. And they launched a Design for Planet initiative, which is a call for action really in the design community. Within that initiative, there's lots of resources, lots of activities happening, lots of publications to help raise the bar really in what design can do to respond to these multiple emergencies and crises we find ourselves in. As part of that, really useful, and we'll try and put links in the chat box when I can. There's the Skills for Planet Blueprint, which is an open source document. So all of the things I'm sort of showing here, you can access through the links that I'll put in the chat. Open source document co-created with over 100 design experts that lays out the key green design skills that all designers need to be adopting for this future that we need to work towards. It was created in response to research that we carried out in 2024 that revealed there was a big green design skills gap across the UK design sector. So that's hopefully what we're sort of trying to address a little bit today to hopefully inspire a few people to realize that their creative skills can actually make a meaningful difference and fill this gap across the design sector. We need your your fresh ideas, your passion in the design industry. So there's lots of resources available with this Skills for Blue Planet. including ones that are catered towards sort of schools and educational institutions. So check out those links, not just students, but also there's resources available for teachers from the website, which help them embed these critical green skills into their design and creative teaching. So yeah, do check them out. There's lots of resources there. Yeah, absolutely. The future is going to be designed by somebody. It needs creative vision. It needs that passion. It needs younger people to come into the industry and challenge what the older people are doing, because they're the ones that at the moment that generally are kind of struggling to change what they've always done, to really meet these crises head on. So we need these fresh ideas coming in to challenge the thinking that's already out there. So yeah, thank you. I hope that was useful.